Okay, I wanted to give a little demonstration of my solar generator. I was asked by a couple people about how this works. So as you can see, this is Bluetti brand. I'm not promoting this specific brand, but it was just the one that had the features and the amount of power I needed for my specific applications. But you know, whatever works for you. If a different brand is better, um, this was not given to me or anything. I paid for this with my own cash. I want to say that the setup was about $1,000 or 1,100, something like that. You can pay a lot more if you want something with much more power, or less for a little smaller units. But this is what I needed for powering my small devices out here. I still need to run the gas generator for powering circular saws and things, but this has been necessary for me, even though it's a little bit pricey. I needed it for out here. I mean, this YouTube channel wouldn't be possible without it. But as you can see, it comes, the panels themselves come folded up like a suitcase, so it's a nice little package with the unit, so it's fairly lightweight. The back of the panel has this little bag on it which has the cables that just fold up in there and then pull out. So I'll show you. It just, you unclip here on both sides and you fold it out. You can see the little legs on it that fold out, and you can adjust that to determine the angle you want for the sun. So I've got it for the angle I need right now, but it just folds out, this one specifically, into 4 different pieces. And then you can just go back in that little fold there, pull that out and plug it in. I'm going to demonstrate. I think I'm going to move this into the shade so you can see the unit a little bit better. Okay, so here's what happens when you take the cord from the solar panels and you plug it into the input. It'll start reading how much battery it is, and it shows that it was around 40% charged, and it's charging up from there. You can see I'm only getting 10, 11 watts of input because it's now become partially shaded where that is. But it gives you the input and then the output on the bottom number. So let's say I then take my drill batteries, plug that in the charge. You not only plug it into the AC side, but then you have to actually power up the AC side with this button. The little thing turns green. You might not be able to see it, but it shows my battery is charging there. So you see I'm getting about 11 watts to charge that single battery pack. Again, if I take a second one, I got another charger. Well, it's not going to fit that way. I went from 10 or 11 watts, and now it's going to jump up to 20. So I'm starting to draw more than I'm collecting from the solar panels at this point. Some days when it's sunnier, this input will be up in the 80s, 90s, and sometimes even over 100, which is pretty nice. Then I'll also take this lantern, which I made sure to get one that uses the same plug as my phone, so I can use the charger from either or, and plug that in. Now you see we're jumping up to about 25 watts to charge both battery packs and this lantern at the same time. Now it also has a built-in light on it, which you turn it on low, it adds about 1 watt. So just 1 watt of light output. That can run for a very long time, probably multiple nights without a charge, having yourself a light. And it also has a higher output, which will make it jump up and probably use 2 watts instead of a single watt for the lower output. And then, of course, you know, like all these, they got give yourself a seizure mode on it. But there's also on this side is DC output. I've never had a use for that, but some people, I guess, certain camera equipment and powered telescopes and things like that will actually use DC power. So it does have the inputs to do that, including a cigarette lighter output. The only complaints I really have with this thing is that when it shows how much power, battery power is left in there, it's in increments of 20%. So let's say it says 40%. Well, does that mean there's 31% or does that mean there's 49%? There's a big difference. So if the people from Bluetti cared what I thought, you know, maybe that's one thing they can improve is just show a better readout. I mean, it's not a deal breaker. I mean, you generally know, hey, if it's getting down to 40%, it needs charge. If it's up at 80%, it's good. And then also, like you saw, it just turned off. After a while, the display turns off and you've got this power button you have to turn on. Well, it's also the same button to turn on the DC output. And these little lights on it are hard to see, especially in the daytime. So I don't know if when I press that to see what the display says, I don't know if I've turned on the DC output and then I gotta like kind of shade it and see. It's like, oh, I gotta turn that off because you don't want the output just powered if there's nothing to it. So just those two things, the battery readout and then this weird interface with the power button. It's not a big deal. I mean, anybody with a working brain can figure out how to use it, and you know, you get used to it. But those are just two minor, I guess, minor things that I would pick apart about it. So one problem I've got with YouTube reviews, in addition to them usually being biased because the company paid them to give the review, is that people will order something, get it fresh out of the box, and then set it up in their backyard on a nice day and use it or whatever. But I've used this enough now in bad conditions that I feel comfortable actually talking about it. It's held up. It probably doesn't show on the video, but these panels are just filthy dirty all over just because they're out in the dirt every single day. But it's held up nicely. I mean, obviously, I try to keep all electrical stuff out of the rain and dry and everything, but the temperature fluctuations haven't affected it much. On a cold night, these lithium-ion batteries don't like cold, so the battery will drop some. Say I had a full charge going into the night. On a cold night the next morning, the battery's going to be at 60 or 80% because that's just what happens when they get cold. But I also wanted to bring up that it comes with a charger with an AC plug here. So it's a power pack. Let's say you're at home. You can plug this into your wall or anywhere where you've got power at and use that to charge the generator instead of the solar panels. So that's nice. You can always keep it topped off. Let's say you're going on a trip or something. You plug it in the night before, make sure it's fully charged, and then you're taking it with you with a full charge. And then also it's got a cigarette lighter adapter, so you could charge it through the cigarette lighter in your vehicle. I don't know that I would like to do that. That would be a last resort for me. I don't want to drain the battery on my vehicle and potentially put myself in a situation where, you know, I got a dead battery in my vehicle. But it is an option you have there. I have used this too on a really hot night to run a fan for Brute specifically. I really didn't need it, but it did help him. So it's as long as you use it within reason and not expecting too much out of it, it's great. I mean, like I said, it's been a lifesaver for me, keeping my phone charged and little devices and you know, the electric toothbrush and stuff like that. It's a tough pill to swallow for what it costs for something like this, but it is a nice tool if you can afford it for preparedness purposes. You know, if you have power go out for a day or two, it's not going to run your big appliances or nothing, but it'll keep your small stuff going and give you a chance to repower it out in the yard as long as it's sunny. Even on a cloudy day, I've been able to get a little bit of charge in. It would bring in enough sun to say just keep my phone charged. So even if it's totally gloomy for a few days, I can at least keep my phone charged if nothing else. So it's a nice little package. I like it. Bluetti seems like a good reputable brand, but like I said, other people prefer other ones, and then there's different size models and power. So it's worth looking into if you like something like this. See if something fits your needs.